So how to write an essay? The first thing is you should first understand the question, identify the parts of the question, and address each of them one by one in your answer. Okay. So whenever you try to write an essay, these are the steps you should follow. Let me just take some essays as examples here, and let's try to understand with the help of examples directly. Here I have some 11 standard essays, and I want you to rewrite these essays after reading the answers. Like, for example, this is one topic, okay? Okay, so let's take this as an example. While recruiting a new employee, the employer should pay more attention to their personal qualities rather than qualifications and experience. To what extent do you agree or disagree? I'm not going to discuss the answer, but I'm going to discuss some of the questions and the nature of the question. Okay. So if you look
Yes.
at this particular question, the question is, to what extent do you agree or disagree? Which means it is not saying, do you agree or disagree? It says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So what is the difference between do you agree or disagree and this one? If it is like this, you're supposed to take one side, right? This is one side. If it is like this, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So if there are two poles, one is agree, other is disagree, to what extent means if I extend from zero, which is middle, to how much do I go left, to how much do I go right, right? So that's to what extent do you agree or disagree, right? Like, do you agree more or disagree more? So the tone will change a little bit if it is to what extent do you agree or disagree, because I'll be comparing the positives and negatives of certain aspect. And if it is do you agree or disagree, I can take one aspect and defend it completely, right? So that's one subtle difference. Do you realize the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if this is the question, to what extent do you agree or disagree? And the question is, while recruiting an employee, the employer should pay more attention to their personal qualities rather than qualification experiences. What can you write and how can you write it? So if you look at the question, there are some comparative terms here. Pay more attention to, which means pay more attention to one aspect on the expense of the other aspect. Give me 1 minute. Yes, Atar. So if this is the topic, what will you write and how will you analyze it? So let us talk about all the different uh, directions this particular topic can take. So what do you think? What is more important while recruiting a person? Is it about the personal qualities or qualifications and experience? What is more important?
So personal qualities.
Okay. So we want to say that personal qualities are more important. Like, for example, which personal qualities will you talk about?
So kindness and honesty.
Kindness and honesty. Okay. What else?
Um,
Will it also depend on the nature of work? Like, if you are recruiting someone, what kind of work is that person going to do? Like, for example, if you are recruiting someone for an entry level job, then you will think about his qualifications and what can he do, his ability to learn quickly and implement what he learns, his um pleasing personality, is he
yes.
willing to put in efforts or not? So those kind of things. If you are looking for an entry level job, probably you will not look for any kind of um, maybe qualifications and experience. You will rather look at his personal qualities. I don't know. I mean, is what I think. How kind of person is he? If the work is very simple, then qualification and experience are not required. Anyone can do it. All that is required is sincerity and honesty and punctuality, those kind of things, right? And if you are recruiting a new employee on a high post, right? It could be
Yes.
like a manager or some kind of team leader kind of position. So in that case, probably you look for other things as well, like what kind of experience has he gone through? Does he come with necessary qualifications or not? There are certain jobs and certain professions where your qualification is mandatory. Like, for example, if you are hiring a lawyer or some medical professional, he has to be a doctor. Similarly, in schools and colleges, if somebody wants to join as a professor or a teacher, there are certain qualifications which are mandated by the government. So you cannot really um, overlook them. You have to have those qualifications in order to work there, right?
Yes.
So that's one aspect of it. But then, so for such type of people where the job demands very um, like personal decision making and leadership skills, you look for probably a combination of personal qualities and qualification experience. You cannot ignore one on the expense of other. You have to have both together in order to perform certain duties. So this looks like a good argument. It depends on now, since this particular question is an open-ended one. The specifics are not there, whether you are taking a new employee on a senior position or on a junior position. It's not it's not told in this particular question, right?
Yes.
So you can put some qualifiers in your arguments, and then based on those qualifiers, you can shape your argument and you can mold your argument. You can say that, you know, now when you're talking with yourself like this, you can see that there are certain scenarios coming up, right? And these scenarios demand different solutions, right? At some point, you're saying, okay, fine, personal qualities are enough. At other points, you're saying, oh, this is not about personal qualities, it's about qualifications, experience, and in addition to personal qualities. So what happens is that You get to see that, oh, it depends on the nature of the job, right? So your argument comes to the point that, I mean, your central argument is that nature of job determines the type of person required to perform that job, isn't it?
Yes.
So, so this kind of brainstorming with your own self is necessary before you attempt a question, so that you can shape your arguments properly and then give examples. So what you will say for this one is, recruiting a new employee is a complex task, right? For some jobs, personal qualities are enough, but for others, we need a mix of personal qualities as well as qualifications and experience. Yeah, in addition to qualifications and experience. So आपका ये argument बन गया. Now, in the first paragraph, you can talk about personal qualities. That for entry level jobs, personal qualities are enough. For example, if we are recruiting a office clerk or a person who is simply responsible for executing the orders, let us say, तो इसको और भी specific example बना सकते हो या थोड़ा generic लेके चल सकते हो, like executing the orders. All that is required is to understand the orders and execute them in a step-by-step manner. For such types of jobs, we need a person who is sincere and who is ready to learn and who is a good follower. So these personal qualities would be more important. Qualification can vary, and probably doesn't the qualification do not play such an important role for entry level professions or entry level jobs. Right. So this is one paragraph where you can write one or two examples more. Right. Other paragraph you can write that, but the scenario changes or the requirements change when we hire for a higher position, right? So for performing the tasks of a team leader or a manager, we need people with good experience in addition to personal qualities, right? You can give examples now. For example, if we talk about what kind of company do you know about? Like what kind of example would you like to give? Let's say you can talk about school because school is something you know about. So
Yes.
if somebody is recruiting, let's say, a section head for junior section of a school, you don't just one doesn't I mean qualifications alone won't suffice. The section head should be matured enough to resolve conflicts among teachers, and also she should also be able to talk to parents whenever there are some escalations coming to her. No? She should be in position to put her arguments in a very simple and straightforward manner, and she should have those administrative qualities required for a person at a senior level, right? So, and you can talk about some other scenarios also. Similarly, in school context also, you can give many examples. If we need a principal of the school, we further need great experience in addition to qualification, because um, such a position like a principal is the one which determines the success of a school, and many parents decide about admitting their children in the school based on the type of principal who administers the school, or yeah, who runs the school, right? So her reputation and her past experience, in addition to her qualifications, play a very important role for this position, right? And then you can write a summary of it to sum up, yeah, to conclude. While experience and personal qualities are equally important, in my opinion, it is the nature of the job which determines the right mix of personal qualities and experience required to work efficiently in the given role, right? So, see, this is what it is. You have to kind of think out of the box, and you have to think in terms of some scenarios and examples. And this initial self-talk is very important before writing the essay. And when you are doing this self-talk, actually you should make notes in the rough sheet or somewhere in the rough notepad. You know, if you're doing a computer-based test, you can make some rough notes in the answer sheet, answer part of the window there, and you can later delete them. You know, you can just make some bullet points, just like pointers for your mind. So writing those pointers help you to actually validate them against the question, right? If something is there in your mind, you don't even know whether it exists or not, because your mind is very sublime thing, right? It doesn't hold any idea for very long. It is very easy to forget, isn't it? Especially in a test kind of scenario. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm there. I'm listening.
So don't just keep things in your mind. Write down the bullet points at some place and validate those points against the question. See whether they fulfill the requirements of the question or not. And you can change them, because making changes at the initial stage during the planning stage is easier, but you cannot really incorporate those changes later once you have started drafting your thoughts in the answer. Okay. So spending like these like 2-3 minutes at the beginning can help you know what you should write. And second thing, we discuss about the nature of the question. Like here in this case, we have this question which says, to what extent do you agree or disagree? So for such kind of scenarios where it says to what extent, you can actually talk about both the scenarios, and finally you can give a conclusion which is like you know which is uh, an argued and a balanced conclusion based on the topic. So there are certain essays on this where at one point we are talking about one aspect, at other point we are talking about other aspect. I want you to read them, and then you can write your own essay. So that's one. Let's look at another topic. This is the topic now. So can you read this topic and help me do some brainstorming on this topic?
Okay, sir. Reading. Sir, I've read the question.
Fantastic. So how would you like to shape this, and what is going on in your mind?
Sir, I partially agree with this as
Mhm.
the future developments in IT can also have positive effects
Mhm.
and very few negative effects.
Mhm.
It's just that if AI takes over the world,
Mhm.
then it will be considered to be having some negative effects.
Mhm.
Otherwise, not.
Okay.
Because Google, like the developments like Google and other search engines and various web apps like Gmail and Zoom have made our work easier because we all were at home during the pandemic, COVID pandemic. So we used Zoom app to communicate with each other, and hence it made our work easier. That is why it only led to positive effect.
Hmm.
That's
So basically, you are taking clues from history to claim that in future also the developments in IT would be uh, would be like a boon for us, and in
yes.
crisis situations, we would be able to use technology for our advantage. So basically, if you look at this particular question, it is more like projecting in future, right? It's talking about making some predictions for the future. And of course, I mean, we can not predict the future. We can take clues from the present to derive some trends and talk about future, right? We can talk about possibilities, but we cannot predict it, right? So that's what you're doing, and you're saying that developments in IT have been of great use during the crisis situation of pandemic, and take clues from that. Probably technology can be a great boon for us in future also. You know, you can talk about it a little more, saying that, talk about like two categories of people. You can talk about students, you can talk about working professionals, right? So for students, the use of developments in the field of information technology was no less than a dream come true, or no more than less than a blessing. They were able to attend classes, and they were able to, you know, get the best of um, knowledge from home itself during pandemic. And even after pandemic, the trend continued. The advent of these classes led to online classes. We can give some personal and other examples. Many students prepare for tests such as IELTS and others from the best teachers across the world, sitting at their homes. So this is all possible because of technology, right? Similarly, for professionals, multinational companies have, uh, it is very easy for multinational companies to collaborate with people sitting at different offices of the world and derive synergies from their experiences, right? So you can give examples of IT companies such as Microsoft, Google, India, we have TCS and others. We can talk about that, right? So this is so basically one paragraph devoted to the positives. And the second paragraph devoted to certain negative aspects of it. You can talk about the misuse of technology to misrepresent identities and pilfer money, cyber crime and stuff, and hidden web, black web. What is that called as? That black web? The one which is like an underworld of internet. What is that? It is black web, some technical term. So basically, you know, technology can be a potent tool to harm people, and also certain developments seem to be um, like before time, or seem to replace humans. AI वगैरह का बात कर सकते हैं. And again, in this case also, you can say that technology is like a double-edged sword. It depends on how we use it. We can use it to our own advantage, or we can use it to harm humankind. Right. So, will it have more negative or positive effects? Depends on how we use it. So that can be your argument.
Okay, sir.
And you can say, I cannot predict. Be honest with what you know. Yeah, so there are certain answers to this. Now, this is a, okay, this is also to what extent question. I'll take a different variety of question now. All these are discuss both views kind of questions, so I'm just skipping them. And I want you to read them once, but yes, you have understood. In case the question asks you to discuss both the aspects, this is what you'll do. Like, what do you think about this subject? Again, is, you can take it anywhere. You can make it one-sided or two-sided based on how you think about the subject, right? So such type of questions give you a little freedom. But then now this is a different variety of question, which is agree or disagree. Can I more, do you agree or disagree? Can you see this? The way the question is structured is very different. Now, in this case, the question is forcing you to take one side. You can either agree or disagree. You cannot discuss both views. I mean, for the sake of comparison, you can do that, but then eventually you have to reach to one side. Okay. So how will you write on this kind of subject? Let's discuss this quickly. Are you there, Athar? Can you read the question?
Yes, sir, I'm reading.
Okay.
Should I
So what will you write for such type of topics?
read? uh,
So I know reaching to a conclusion is difficult. What you can do is you can jot down some points on both sides of the argument. Both sides, right? Using a computer every day can have more negative than positive. So what can be the positive effects of using computer every day? What can be the negative effects of using computer on every day? So what are the positive effects? Well, if you use computer every day, you can, you know, do your work with greater efficiency. You can use
and
various
faster.
applications. Yeah. And what you do every day becomes a habit. So you become better at operating certain applications and programs, and you gain speed and confidence to execute those programs. Um, Again, you can take examples. You can talk about students, you can talk about researchers, you can talk about professionals. So students and researchers who use computer daily basis on a daily basis know how to search for information and dig the answers to the questions which they seek without the help of their teachers. Like, for example, you can say people use a chat GPT to get answers or certain internet-based applications and sites and stuff like that. Yeah. And then you can talk about daily use of computers can be harmful. So number one, the computer doesn't tell you how to use it. So some people can use it for just entertainment and getting unnecessary information rather than using it for some useful purpose, right? So excessive use of computers, and even if you're using for some productive work, um, sitting at one place and working computer very long might have some negative effects on one's health, right? So there are both aspects to it, and so now whether you agree or disagree that can have more negative or positive effects. Now, okay, now look at this. Do you agree or disagree? You cannot really write about both of them. So you have to write on one aspect only.
Yes, sir.
So what do you want to say? Do you agree or disagree?
Sir, I agree with the
Right.
given statement.
So in this case, yeah, you have to, then if you say agree, it's more like a debate. You know that there aren't any absolute truths or false ideas, but in this essay, you will be entertaining only one aspect or one side of it, knowing that the other side also exists. Yeah. but you would be fighting on one particular aspect because
Yes.
that's the ask of the question. All right. So in this case, you can see that this guy says using it on a daily basis has these advantages: personal, academic, and professional. And then there are three paragraphs. How is it useful in personal life? How is it useful in academic life? How is it useful in professional life? And there are three arguments, and at the end, he says computers are here to stay. We should learn them and use them. So basically, this person is arguing in favor of it, right? Now, these are all agree, disagree essays, and you have to stick to one aspect of the argument, irrespective of the nature of the question, if it is agree, disagree. So now you can see we saw two different types of questions. One was to what extent do you agree or disagree? And then there is agree, disagree. Means, based on the nature of the question, your tone and the way you treat the question would differ, right? Do you get that?
Yes, sir.
Now, this is a different nature. This is a different type of question now. And this is the third type of essay we'll discuss and we'll stop after this. Here, it is not about the question. The question is not about agreeing or disagreeing. It's more about writing commentary on certain aspect. Like, look at this question. Can you just read it once?
Sure, done.
Yeah, how far do you agree or disagree with this statement? So I can see that here you still have, I mean, your opinion still has some role to play because you can agree with this or statement. This question is giving you a little freedom. You can agree or you can disagree, right? What other challenges are faced by young people today? Now, this is another question altogether. And it's a very open-ended one, right? And it
Yes.
is actually uh, pointing towards the fact that unemployment is not just the only problem, right? Because it says what other challenges, which means it is the question itself is acknowledging that unemployment is, even if it is the biggest challenge, it is not the only challenge. So there are, this is a mixed question. At one as at to this point, you have to actually zero down upon whether you agree or disagree with the fact that unemployment is the biggest challenge. You can say no also, that unemployment is not the biggest challenge. Definitely, unemployment is one big problem for school leavers, that they are not able to get jobs after finishing school. But then there can be other challenges also, and they are equally potent, equally big, equally challenging, equally important, and we cannot just compare them. You can say that, right? Or you can say, yes, unemployment is the biggest of the challenges for school leavers after 12th. They see हर कोई तो वैसे जॉब चाहता भी नहीं है 12th के बाद. स्कूल लीवर्स तो मतलब वही हो गया ना, स्कूल जो छोड़ रहा है. कॉलेज लीवर्स तो बोल नहीं रहा. तो 12th के बाद अगर कोई स्कूल लीवर है तो क्या चाहिए, सोचता है कि मैं जॉब पाऊँ. That's too early actually, right? So for school leavers, the ones who are finishing at 12th, probably unemployment is not the biggest problem. There are other big problems: which subjects to study, right? Which direction to take? Should you study in India or, I mean, your own country or abroad? And what subjects should you study? What colleges should you opt for? So there are so many other challenges which are faced by school leavers. Unemployment is not even a question for them, right? But for others who come from other strata, so how far do you agree with this statement? Again, the question is how far. So this is again open-ended and you can talk about both the aspects. And what other challenges? You can talk about other challenges. Do you get it? Athar, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm listening.
Fantastic. So what we have done is we have actually done a bit of brainstorming on different topics, and uh, this is what you need to do before writing an essay. And how should you develop your essay writing skills? You should actually read some essays first. So reading the samples will give you an idea of the language, the way you treat different subjects and certain aspects of paragraphing and stuff. So how you structure your arguments in the form of an essay. So reading those answers will give you that clue. And we have also learned that the nature of the question decides the nature of the answer, right? The tone, the way you write the arguments, how much you write, all depends on the question. All right. So I want you to actually read all these essays today, up to whatever page we have done. I'll share this document with you and we'll take it further tomorrow. A few days for a couple of classes, we are going to read the essays first together the way we are doing right now so that we understand the nature of the question. And then after some time, I'll be asking you to write essays on your own. Okay. So writing is one aspect which is the most challenging. It requires good practice to make sure you score good marks in your test. All right. So do you have any questions about it?
No, sir.
All right. So I'm sending this document. All I want you to do is read these essays and we'll take it forward day after tomorrow. All right. All
Thank
right.
you. Okay,
Take
sir.
care then. Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.